Yo, what's up? It's Branden Flash. Today we're here with my Rivian R1T, and we're doing a 1,000-kilometer challenge because the Rivian won't be in Norway or in Europe for probably a decent while. And let's just see how it stacks up with Bjorn's tests in Norway and Sweden. As I mentioned, this is my Rivian R1T 2022. We're at the Circle K in Rock Hill, South Carolina, charging up to 100%. We're at 97% there, and it's 10:31, so we'll probably get going about 10:45 here. I anticipate this will take about 10 hours, plus or minus about half an hour, I would say. This is Rivian Blue Ocean Coast Interior Adventure Package, no underbody trim. Or underbody protection. We have the 20-inch all-terrain tires. I did check the tire pressure. They're set to factory recommended 48 PSI. I took off the crossbars that I've run previously. No front plate. Pretty much as it comes. Exterior, we're going to be running it in conserve mode, but standard suspension, just for maximum comfort there. And as soon as we hit 100%, or roughly 10:45 or so, it doesn't have to be exactly 100% for this test. Then we'll get going. And let me just show you the general route that we're going to be running, because it's a little bit different doing this in North America than it is doing it in Norway. So we're starting here in Rock Hill, South Carolina, right up there. We're going to be dipping down this way. So this is I-77, straight south, basically. Going around Columbia, South Carolina, we'll be going, this is 26, I believe. Yep. So that takes us to I-95 here. We're then going to be going north on I-95 up to Florence. That'll be our first charging stop. So that is about 215 miles or so to the first charging stop. We'll then also be charging in Lumberton, most likely. We'll be going up, kind of past or through Raleigh up here. And then we'll be going across through Greensboro. Don't recall whether it has us going through, yep, it has us going through Winston-Salem. Then through Statesville, we'll be charging there. There's also a charge in here somewhere. And then around Charlotte, and then back to the Circle K here in Rock Hill, South Carolina to end the test. And that ends up being about 627 miles. So we'll probably end up hitting the 1,000-kilometer mark right about here or so on our way back. But we'll be keeping pace, of course, or we'll be keeping an eye on it. Let's reset our trip here. So there you can see 6,164 miles. I'll just throw it into metric here for a second for all of you guys in Europe. So almost 10,000 kilometers. And here's my lifetime trip, just to give you an idea of efficiency. So I have a pretty heavy right foot, so my efficiency is not great, but I think today will be actually reasonably efficient. Let's just throw that back in Imperial there. And we're just going to be waiting for it to finish charging here, or about 10:45. I grabbed some M&Ms as a snack. I've got some kombucha. I've got my iPad ready for a live stream. So if you want to watch the whole test, I'm going to have a live stream going for the whole 10-ish hours, plus or minus. And we'll just wait for it to finish. Also worth mentioning conditions. So it's about 55 degrees outside. I think that's roughly 15 Celsius, something like that. Pretty mild wind. I think it's in the 5 mile per hour range or so. Let's see here. Oh, a little bit higher than that, 9 mile per hour, but we're essentially doing a giant circle, so should kind of cancel itself out to an extent. And looks like the wind is going to be dying down here as the day goes along. So we're at 99%, still getting 11 kilowatt, which is a little surprising. Yesterday when I charged to 100% just to see how it went, it actually stopped at 99% indicated, and then after I unplugged it jumped to 100%. So I think it was just kind of reading where the cells are at for pack voltage. So that's still reset there. And then once we get unplugged here, I'll drop it into conserve. We'll leave it on standard ride height. Got the live stream ready to go. We've got this phone ready to go for the live stream comments, so I can just have that going there, answer people's questions. And then this is our first waypoint, and then once we get down here, then I'll switch it to the Florence Electrify America so that I can precondition a bit. But otherwise it would have us route probably the more direct route through here-ish, I think, something like that. But M&M's, definitely breakfast of champions, kombucha, water, just waiting for it to finish, or 10:45, so 1 minute either way. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop charging here because it's 10:44. There we go. And then we'll see if it actually ends up going up to 100% here once we're unplugged, which I think it might. Yeah, just like that, we're at 100%. There we go, it's 10:45. We'll drop it into conserve here, turn the car on. So we're on Neil right now, but we'll go to standard. I'm gonna hit go live here on the live stream, just like that. Truck is raising up to standard height there. And we'll see what it says, what we'll estimate arrival with. So it thinks we'll get there with 136 miles of range. Perfect. And this latest update, it gives us our estimate there. And just so you guys can see what software version we're on, vehicle updates. So we're on 2022.39.01. So latest as of October 29th, 2022. And we are ready. Let's get going. Well, we're going along here, and unfortunately we're already hitting a little bit of traffic. Not the end of the world. Looks like it's still flowing at least. We'll see how long this keeps up and if we need to calculate a deduction. It's 10:56 right now. So far we've driven almost 12 miles and we're getting almost 2 miles per kilowatt hour. So hopefully it speeds up here now that we're past the person changing a tire on the side of the road. People are just looky-loos in the US and don't know how to just keep going even as things are happening on the side of the road. But we are continuing on and still just headed towards I-95. Well, traffic was very quick, so not going to be deducting anything. Lasted less than a minute or so, and 95%. So we're just around the outskirts of Columbia, South Carolina here, and we're just below 75% at 74%. See our efficiency. We've driven 67 miles so far and 2.04 miles per kilowatt hour. So pretty solid, I would say. And we're just continuing on past Columbia onto I-26, taking that all the way to I-95, and then we'll turn and head north. And that's Florence, South Carolina. That's going to be our first charging stop there. So we're getting close to I-95 here, so I'm actually going to be changing my nav destination so it can start preconditioning. I think it should be smart enough at this point to allow it to go all the, or to do the correct route. Looks like not quite, because we're going to actually go all the way here to not cut that there. So I'm going to just ignore that one direction. Let's see here, to go on 301 south, or sorry, 301 north, and instead just continue on I-26 until we get to I-95, and then at that point it should redirect. And we're about 50 miles out from the first charging stop, and we just got the preparing battery for fast charging message. So to my knowledge, that means that it's actually cooling the battery rather than heating the battery. A little interesting because it's not actually that warm out, but we have been going fairly quickly. Just a quick update, we've driven 161 miles 1.83 mile per kilowatt hour, and 75 mile per hour average. So definitely cooking along there. Let's just switch it into metric for all of you guys that might be European watching this. So about 260 kilometers and 2.95 kilometer per kilowatt hour. That is a mouthful. And 120 kilometer per hour average speed. This charger is certainly not the closest to being right off the interstate. Have to go on to a different route and then up there, so not the best, but could be worse. All right, just activated the station here. We're at the utter chaos of a location, Florence, South Carolina, Electrify America. That's initiating here. We've got a filthy i3S, but still kind of cool to see. They're charging up to 75%, 48 kilowatt. That's actually not bad for an i3. Let's hop in the truck, see how things are going. I'll show you the efficiency, of course. So let's see here. So we're getting ramp up speeds there. Just like that. And here's our trip. So 208 miles, 72 mile per hour average, 1.78 mile per kilowatt hour, about 3 hours. So let's just flip it to metric so you guys can see that. And that didn't take, let's just see here, metric. 208.3 kilometers, that's not right. It's gonna flip here. Showing miles. Not sure why it's doing that. Let's try just flipping that again. Very strange. So Rivian is deciding that it doesn't want to switch between kilometers and miles, but I guess that's fine. And we're getting 193 kilowatt at 6%. Can't complain about that. And it's still showing kilometers. Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully I can show you kilometers and kilometers per kilowatt hour at the next stop. But let's go back to the energy screen and leave it on that for the live stream. Charging is going really well so far, even with it saying that it's cooling the battery and slowing down. It doesn't seem to actually really be slowing it down much. 47 kilowatt in 14 minutes is nothing to complain about. Let me just show you guys this install here quick. So pretty typical Signet Electrify America installation. We've got the equipment in the fenced in area here, screened from view. I think we have a transformer maybe outside of it. Let's see if we can peek in there at all. Can't even see really in there at all. Maybe a little bit. Transformers over there. Let's see how big it is. Looks like maybe at 500 or 750 kVA. 750 kVA, so pretty typical, I'd say. Nothing crazy. And I'm just gonna head into Walmart, and probably by the time I'm back in just a moment, we'll be ready to go. Should be leaving around 65% state of charge. So ended up swapping to the 150 kilowatt unit here. And that is some very strange billing. Not sure what's going on there. But anyway, that one throttled pretty hardcore down to like 105 kilowatts. And this actually gave me better speeds, so that's kind of interesting. We charged up to 65%, or 66%, I guess. And time to hit the road. So we've got 136 miles to go to Smithfield, North Carolina. That's where we're going. So, just like that. Let's get on the road. Well, we're just about to cross 500 kilometers here, or the halfway point, in just under 4 hours, I believe. I don't know why it's showing 4 hours 20 minutes, because we left at 10:45, if I remember correctly, which is a little strange that it would say 4 hours 20 minutes. But you can see there the halfway point has been crossed, and Driver Plus is making me take over here. So a lot less traffic seemingly at this stop. We've driven 341 miles so far, and I realized my poor math on that previous clip about time. It was about 5 hours, or just under 5 hours, that we had done halfway in. We're at 7% state of charge. We've got, let's see, about a mile to get to the charging station. It's kind of off the beaten path, unfortunately. But maybe we can go that way to get back on. I don't know. We'll see what makes the most sense. Live stream still going strong, 13 viewers. So if you're there, glad you're watching on both. And then after this, we'll continue along. So let's just see here actually what it says. That's not the one we want to go to. It's this one, Greensboro. So there we have that tentative path. And we're gonna get to the charger and we'll figure it out in a little bit more detail and see how far we need to charge. Looks like 111 miles, so we should only need to charge like 65%, something like that. So shouldn't be too painful. There we got some superchargers at the Sheets. That is a much better location for fast charging than at the outlets that we're going to. And I missed the exit, or I missed the turn, so we're going a little bit of a roundabout way here to get to the chargers, but we'll make it there. Well, we're at 6%, 19 miles estimated, and I just activated the Electrify America here. So let's get plugged in here so we can get that going, and then I'll show you the site here. Very small transformer. That's kind of interesting. I don't think I've ever seen a transformer that looks quite like this. 500 kVA. You can kind of hear the owl there, which is interesting because the Halloween theme Easter eggs going on right now. Not a whole lot of bugs on the front of the car. Oh, you can hear the owl or werewolf kind of thing. We've got a Model 3 there. Glad to see that Model 3 was not blocking a station, and you can't really see much of anything in there. But let's take a look and see what kind of speeds we're getting. It's doing the usual ramp up for Signet. Just like that. So it looks good to me. Well, ran into an Ioniq 5 that was here and already charged and it's gone. That was actually a viewer, so hello to you. There's a Bolt that drove down from Boston and we're charged up to 55%, so I'm going to stop charging here. And we're gonna get going because it's only, let's see how far, just while we're still getting power. I think it's 111 miles. Not that route though. gonna go that route. $112 miles. So let's unplug and get on the road here. 56%. And as we're pulling out here, so 342 miles driven so far, 1.75 miles per kilowatt hour, and we're pulling out here. Spun the front tires a little, that's a little comical, and almost 200 kilowatt hour used so far. You can see the green glow off in the distance, and this is an 8-stall Electrify America, and probably the easiest one to get on and off the interstate to and from all day today. We've arrived in Greensboro at 14%, just like that, 42 miles. I just activated the charger. And let's get plugged in. You guys know the drill by now. So connecting the vehicle, let's check out the site here a little bit. So all the equipment's in there. Duke Energy here. We've got a 1000 kVA transformer, so decent bit of power here. And this is an 8-stall Electrify America with a Polestar charging as we speak. So at a Walmart yet again, unfortunately. But should be a pretty quick stop here, I think. Let's see. Let's see here. There we go, Statesville. $71 miles, so yeah, should be pretty quick stop here. And we charge up to 38%, 113 miles estimated there. Let's see how much energy we added. We added 40.2 kilowatt hour, and here's our trip stats from that last leg, well, from overall so far. So 1.78 miles per kilowatt hour, and we're headed to Statesville, which is 71 miles away, so not too far at all. Let's get on the road here and get some miles down, and after Statesville, we'll just be going around Charlotte back to Rock Hill, and that will be the final leg. All right, we've made it to Statesville. I made a mistake on my way in here and took an exit too early. But we're at 10% state of charge. I'm going to get plugged in here. I need to activate the charger. Got an ID Ford parked next to us, and man, this place is hopping. Very hopping. Well, we're plugged in here. We plugged in at 10%, as I mentioned. Going really well. We're at a 350 kilowatt unit, so we're getting full 500 amps. And there are our stats so far. So we only have like 90 miles or like 80 something miles to go until we get to 1,000 kilometers. You can see 198 kilowatt there. And let me just switch the units. Metric, there we go. Give that a second to actually update, because otherwise it just shows the same thing. Maybe. Usually it changes fairly quick. This Rivian is not good at changing units, it seems. So back to miles. Let's go to metric. See if it goes to 900 something kilometers like it should. In the meantime, we're at 200 kilowatts now. Oh, it's really not wanting to go to kilometers. Well, anyway, you get the point here. I'll have to just convert that, see how many miles we need to cover and where we need to go. I think we might go to the EVgo in Charlotte rather than to the Circle K. Just being that I have to pick up Kaylee in South Park near our apartment in this area. So we might go past this EVgo. So we're probably going around this way. I'll probably go past and then come back and then go home there. So that way I'm just a little closer by. See what it says for a route there. So I think that will work. So I think we'll go. Yeah, I guess that works too, potentially. I think I'm gonna go this way because it's a little bit longer. And then we'll go past and then we'll come back. And then that will be the remainder miles that we need to do. Let's just see one more time if it will want to work. Earlier it was doing it relatively quickly. Well, I guess not now. There we have the charging stats so far, so things are going quite well. So we're throttling now. We're down below 200 kilowatts, just started dropping. I'm going to stop this session and then I'm going to switch cables. We'll deduct like 2 minutes off the time just for the swap here, but I want to do a little bit of an experiment and see what happens. So I just swapped cables here, so we went from this one to that one. So this cable is actually pretty toasty, I'd say. Let's see what cable is. So this is a HPC 400. You can see that there. And we switched. This one's nice and cool. So we're gonna look in the truck here and see what kind of rates we get. As this ramps up here, see if we get higher. We might. So it still says the battery's slower while cooling. But let's see if we get 200-ish again. Not entirely sure if this is a net time savings or not, but still an interesting experiment nonetheless. Well, let's see how this holds. Seems it was a pretty marginal benefit. Probably not worth doing, but worth testing nonetheless. And we're actually good to go. So I'm going to stop charging here because we only have about 91 miles to go. And we're going to be ending at a charger. So let's get unplugged 50%. I think that just jumped as we unplugged, so that was interesting. We're just driving along here. We're about to cross 900 kilometers driven, 112 kilometer per hour average, 8 hours actually driving 2.88 kilometers per kilowatt hour. Man, that is a mouthful and not something I'm used to saying. But yeah, just about to cross over that 900 kilometer threshold and about another 100 kilometers to go before we wrap up today's test. So we pulled off about 985 or so kilometers off the interstate. So now we're doing some city streets. We're at 997.9, so very close here. I'm going to be recording until we get to the very end. I'm just driving on city streets so I could get home and not have to be too far out of my way. But we're getting very close to 1,000 kilometers. Going to grab a car wash and grab some dinner right after this and enjoy a nice cold beer at home. So we're just about there, only about another half mile or so or about 1 kilometer, depending on where you're from and what units you like to use. We're just driving by my apartment now, so we're very close in the general vicinity. Pretty high average speed. Anyone that's road tripped quite a bit knows that to maintain a high average speed requires going quite a bit over the intended maintained speed. Only 0.6 kilometers away. We're currently at a stop sign or stoplight. Should we do the Bjorn-style countdown? 9994, 9995, 9996, 9997, stop sign or stoplight. Just at a stoplight here. And we're going again. And then an 8. And 9. Slow down here. And 1,000 kilometers, just like that. Well, now that we hit 1,000 kilometers, I'm turning around here, going to grab a car wash. We'll go over some of the stats while I'm in the car wash. Conveniently, that will work out quite well. And then I got to grab some dinner, meet Kaylee at home, and eat. And enjoy a nice cold beer. So, going to be calling a night here shortly, but I'll see you in the car wash.
Thank you. Please pull forward slowly into the wash.
Time for a car wash here. Got to throw it in car wash mode. That way the charge port doesn't open while we're in the wash. Let's do this thing. Live stream still going. Gonna trigger the side blasters here maybe. Well, end result for this 1,000th kilometer challenge. Overall, I think the test went really well. The raw time was 10 hours, 41 minutes. And then we did have some deductions. So I deducted 5 minutes for traffic in Florence, 3 minutes for charging messiness there. Smithfield, I deducted 5 minutes for me messing with the charging station and just causing additional time. Statesville, I deducted 10 minutes because of my messy loop and taking the wrong exit. So that's 23 minutes there. Because we did side roads at the end, I'm going to take off another 5 minutes. And because we're in North America and the charging infrastructure just isn't as good, not as well spaced out, I'm going to take off another 10 minutes. I think if the charging infrastructure was better placed where you'd want it, just as far as like right off the interstates, things like that, I think that would be a benefit there. So total ends up being a 38-minute deduction from the total time of the test itself. Hopefully you guys can hear me with the car wash going here. But that puts us at a net of 10 hours and 3 minutes, which, just for comparison, if you're not familiar with Bjorn's results, that puts it right in line with the BMW i4 M50, the Model 3 Standard Range Plus 60 kilowatt hour, Volkswagen ID.5, Skoda Enyaq Coupe, Ioniq 5, so it's 3 minutes slower than an Ioniq 5, EV6 all-wheel drive, Standard Range Plus Model 3 made in China, EV6 rear-wheel drive, and the e-tron 55. So those are all vehicles that are kind of right in that plus or minus 5 minutes or so from the 10 hours, 3 minutes. And I think that's actually really impressive. So overall, Rivian's a great road trip vehicle. Charging has room for improvement, but is overall adequate. Range is really solid. So I think the initial range really helped out the result on this vehicle. and it's actually reasonably efficient in conserve mode, and even without driving that reasonably. I was driving rather quickly and it still was quite efficient. So we ended up with 1.78 miles per kilowatt hour, which is actually really not that bad. I'll put the stats for both metric and imperial here for you guys to see. But I'm really curious, what do you guys think? Do you think my methodology was sound for the deductions? Are there any changes that you would make? And Bjorn, if you're watching this, really appreciate your content. Been watching it for many, many years. Not trying to rip off your content, just trying to add a data point for a vehicle that you might not be able to test for a while. So thank you guys for watching. If you haven't already, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. I'll see you on the next one.